Welcome to Bible Alive, your channel where we discover together the most powerful stories of the Bible. Stories that not only inspire us, but also teach us how to apply divine principles to our daily lives. Today, we're going to dive into one of the most well-known and transformative stories in the Bible, David and Goliath. This story, filled with courage, faith, and victory, has been a reference for entire generations, showing how faith in God can overcome even the greatest challenges. If you're new to the channel, I invite you to subscribe. Activate the notification bell so you don't miss anything. And if this story inspires you, leave a like, comment, and share with those who need it most. Let's begin. The story of David and Goliath, the war between Israel and the Philistines. In ancient times, when Israel was still a people seeking to establish themselves, they faced a great threat, the Philistines. This people, known for their great military strength, were constantly at war with the Israelites. In this context, King Saul ruled over Israel. He was a tall man of great presence, but his heart was filled with insecurity. His leadership was marked by difficult decisions and the constant threat of his enemies. One day, the Philistines gathered in a valley near Elah, with their army ready for battle. On the other side of the valley was the army of Israel. Instead of starting a conventional battle, the Philistines presented a challenge that would change the fate of the nation. Goliath, the champion of the Philistines, was a giant, a formidable warrior who stood over 3 meters tall. His armor was so heavy that it covered his entire body, and his spear had an iron tip that weighed nearly 7 kilos. Every day, for 40 days, Goliath came out onto the battlefield and shouted at the Israelites, "Why do you come out to fight? Choose a man to come and fight me. If you defeat me, we will be your servants. But if I defeat you, you will be our servants." This challenge terrified the army of Israel. No one dared to face Goliath, not only because of his size, but also because of his reputation as an undefeated warrior. Everyone was paralyzed by fear, including the most experienced soldiers and King Saul himself. Meanwhile, in Bethlehem, in a small home, lived a young shepherd named David, the youngest of 8 brothers. Even though David was not considered a warrior or an important figure, his heart was filled with courage and faith. One day, his father, Jesse, asked him to go to the battlefield to bring food to his older brothers, who were among the ranks of the army of Israel. David had no idea that this journey would change his life and the history of his people. When David arrived at the camp and heard Goliath's challenge, he was outraged. He could not believe that the people of God were so terrified of a single man. Filled with faith, David asked, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" David's words reached the ears of his brother Eliab, who rebuked him, telling him that he had no business being there. But David was not discouraged. He felt deep indignation at the way Goliath insulted the people of Israel and, most importantly, God. David was not just a brave young man, but a man who firmly believed in the power of God. David insisted that he could defeat Goliath, and his words reached King Saul. At first, the king doubted David's ability to face the giant, as he was merely a shepherd with no military experience. However, David explained how he had faced lions and bears to protect his flock, and how God had delivered him from those situations. David was confident that if God had protected him in the past, he would do so again. Seeing such faith and courage, Saul agreed to let him fight. Before the battle, Saul tried to dress David in his armor, but David realized that he could not fight that way. So he refused the armor and chose instead to take his sling, the weapon he knew well. He went to the river and picked 5 smooth stones, trusting that God would guide him in the fight. With only his sling and stones, David approached the giant Goliath. When Goliath saw David, he mocked him. "Am I a dog, that you come at me with sticks?" But David was not intimidated. Bravely, he replied, "You come against me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel. Today, the Lord will deliver you into my hands." David loaded his sling, swung it in the air, and launched a stone with such precision and force that it struck Goliath directly in the forehead. The giant immediately fell to the ground, and the battle seemed decided. Without wasting time, David ran toward him, took Goliath's sword, and cut off his head. It was a total victory for Israel. David's victory and glory. The Philistine army, seeing their champion defeated in such a humiliating manner, panicked and fled the battlefield. The Israelites, witnessing David's victory, were filled with courage and pursued the Philistines until they were completely defeated. David, the young shepherd, became a hero to his people, and his name began to echo throughout the nation. King Saul took him to the palace, and shortly after, David was recognized for his bravery and skill, rising to leadership positions within Israel's army. Over time, he would become Israel's greatest king, known for his unwavering faith and dedication to God. What does the story of David and Goliath teach us? The story of David and Goliath is not just an account of a battle victory. It is a profound lesson about how we face challenges in our lives. Here are the key teachings. Faith in God is more powerful than any obstacle. David did not rely on his skill with a sling or his physical strength, but on God's power to give him victory. This story reminds us that when we face difficulties, we must trust that God is in control, no matter how big our problems may be. The size of our problems does not matter when we trust in God. Goliath represented an enormous threat, but David did not see him as an invincible giant. Sometimes the giants in our lives seem insurmountable, but with God's help, we can overcome any challenge. Courage is born from faith. David was not intimidated by the size of his enemy. His courage did not come from his skill or physical strength, but from his trust in God. God uses the humble to accomplish great things. David was not an experienced warrior or a famous man. He was a young shepherd, yet God chose him for a great task. This teaches us that no matter how small we may feel, God has a great plan for each of us. Thank you for joining us in this incredible story of faith and courage. David and Goliath teach us that with God on our side, there is no enemy we cannot defeat. If this message has inspired you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Bible Alive channel, activate the notification bell, and share this video with your friends and family. Together, we can spread the power of biblical teachings. See you in the next video, where we will continue exploring more Bible stories that teach us to live with faith, courage, and hope. May God bless you and give you the strength to face your own giants. See you next time, and remember, the Bible is alive in your heart.